breaking the law. And so he come out and basically said that I didn't know what I was talking about. And here's what's funny. I bet you $100 there's nobody knows more about probation fees and about how this started and about how that the district attorneys got into it and about the history of the district attorneys in it and has done more to combat this problem than me. And again, he said, I don't know what I'm talking about. And rarely are you going to hear me talk to an attorney, especially an elected attorney as high as he is. But I will tell you this, he don't know what he's talking about. Absolutely do know what I'm talking about.
Well, JJ, I guess we can equate that to when we were talking about DOC, about the amount of crime, inmate on inmate attack, inmate on officer's attack.
Right.
They said it's not going on. They check their records and it's not happening. And all of a sudden, we got just in one day 3 Prius.
Right.
We had a.
Well, Bob, he's saying that we don't know what we're talking about on that. Same AG saying, well, they don't know what they're talking about. We looked at it and we investigated it. The deal is he did not investigate it. What he did, he went over and he looked at, did DOC conduct some kind of investigation? They said, yeah. And the deal is, that's what we were saying. We never said they didn't investigate. What we said was they were covering up. So they had an investigation. Look here, we did this, we did this. Well, they did this. Well, he never talked to one other witness. He never talked to any of the major witnesses, primary witnesses. So how would he know what was going on? He just went over and took the people being accused word. Same thing here, Bob. He never looked at this. He came out with a response in probably 2 to 3 days. Now, it took a day to get over there, and he's in 2 days later, he's out with response. JJ don't know what he's talking about because, and then he goes out and does all this massive, look, here's where the legislator, look what this law says, look what this law says. Smoke and mirrors, a bunch of paper does not mean they're not breaking the law. And so here's the deal. I came back and counteracted and said, I never said they didn't have the legislative approval and authority to collect this money. That's not what we're saying. There's no question he's 1,000% right. The problem is he didn't answer the question. Nobody asked him, did the legislator give them the approval? The problem is, can the legislator say, y'all can collect the money and not provide the service? And that's the issue. And Bob, I don't care for, you don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have a law degree to understand this simple fact. If you pay me for service and then I do not provide that service, I've cheated you. So if you walk in and let's say I cut hair. Let's say I'm a barber and I say, I want $40 to cut your hair. You pay me 40 and I go, nope, I'm not cutting your hair. I just cheated you. If I'm mowing lawns and you pay me $40 to mow your lawn, but I don't mow your lawn, I cheated you. I defrauded you. I stole your money. Now, if you pay me every month to mow your lawn, every month I come over and get $40 from you, and every month I don't mow your lawn, how long is it going to take you to go, hey, you're a cheater, you're defrauding me, and I hit the rope? And that's how simple it is, Bob.
What do they say? What does the DA say?
Well, here's the deal. The DA says I'm below dignity for calling them out. What do you think they'd say? They act like I've lost my mind.
Well, do they say that they're not doing that? They're doing
no. They say we've been given the permission. The legislators gave us permission. Bob, they always skirt around the topic. So if people will learn, listen to exactly what they're saying. And what they will do is they will they will loudly proclaim we have the authority. What they will never talk about is what kind of supervision they're doing. And you'll hear them say, oh, we're doing pretty. I talked to a guy the other day. We do pretty good supervision. Really, how many people do you have on supervision, and how many officers do you have? I mean, I know place probably got 3 people, maybe 4, and 2 of them would be secretarial assistants, and you got probably 2 people working as so-called probation officers who have no training, have no idea what they're doing, and again, they're going to supervise somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000 people, most likely, I'd say. But even if it's 2,000, can 2 people supervise 2,000 people? It's ridiculous. And what are they doing? And again, you talk to people on probation, and guess what? They're like, hey, go up there, pay your money, and you won't have to come back. Go up there and give them all they want. You'll never hear from them again. It's a money business. And so here's the deal. In 2012 or 2011, a guy named Greg Mashburn, so he is a Cleveland County district attorney. He had a case where he had a person who had a DUI. And so what happened was they offered that person a plea bargain saying, you can have probation with us. Now, Bob, that's wrong in by itself, because let's talk about our court system. Let's talk about the guarantees of our court system is that you have a fair and unbiased court system. You know that lady that's outside that's got that blindfold on? Lady Justice is blind. Well, here's the deal. The district attorneys, which is your top legal people in that county, now, before they decide whether you committed a crime, guess what? They're going to make $40. So it's their job to decide, does whatever facts warrant trying you? Does whatever facts warrant arresting you, bringing you into the court system? Well, now, if they're going to make $40 a month on you for doing that, is that fair and you know, impartial? Is that not biased? If you're making money off of whether you charge somebody, then we don't have a fair system. That's wrong, and anybody that's got a half a brain, and for these people who understand the law, the AG, shame on you if you won't stand up and admit that very fact. All you district attorneys, if you will not stand up and say it's a conflict of interest for us to charge money when we are the ones deciding whether to charge. Second, it's a conflict of interest when I put my own self in to say, I'll tell you what, your plea offer is me. Your plea offer, take my supervision, pay me money, and I'll let you get off for only probation. Guess what? That is an issue. That is a conflict of interest in their job. For them to say it is not is a lie. Then they turn around and do the supervision of which they get paid. And guess who decides whether you violated your probation? And Bob, I would bet you statewide, hey, I would be willing to bet the family farm if we went back statewide and said how many revocations were based on law violations or other violations like dirty UAs or these kind of things, and how many revocations are purely for not paying money. What do you want to bet? That I would bet you 95% of all the revocations filed by all the district attorneys, I'll bet you it's 95% is for you ain't paid. It is not supervision. It is a vehicle to cash out on some of the poorest Oklahomans. It is a vehicle. It's another fine, and it's wrong. And again, here's the thing.
Is it a one-time $40?
No, it's monthly. It's monthly. That's what I say, Bob. It's a monthly fee, and they do not provide a service. Now, here's what's funny. I don't know if you'll remember a judge He's a special judge. His name is Judge Stice, and he's from Cleveland County. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Good guy. Anyways, Judge Stice was hearing this plea agreement that this guy has a DUI and they're going to give him DA supervision. And Judge Stice says, well, I'm going to take the probation, but I'm not giving him to the DA supervision. I'm going to give it to this private supervision over here. And he knew that they were going to go after him. He listed why. He listed that, hey, all y'all are just a money collection. You do nothing but collect money. You do no treatment. You do no real supervision. You do no drug testing. He listed it all out. They filed a judicial complaint against Judge Stice. So it's Mashburn versus Stice. And the lower court said that the judge is the sentencing authority, because what the DA was saying was that a judge doesn't have the power to undo a plea agreement, that the judge doesn't have the power to change the district attorney's plea agreement. The lower court said, yes, he does. He's the judge. You're the DA. And that's where we're at. The DAs think they have so much power that they can tell the judge, you don't have it, we have it. And lower court said, no, the judge has it. So the DAs all together, DAC, the district attorney's council, filed an appeal, and that appeal was answered November 2012. And in that appeal, the appellate court said the lower court was right, but they handed out another verdict, which was the $40 fee must be used for the actual act of supervision. Now, that's pretty easy to understand. You don't need a law degree. It means the $40 must be spent on the actual act of supervision. Now, they did for the next 8 years, they collected that money to fund their office. And I ran a bill called House Bill 1405. And what that did, Bob, what happened, it said, you can't collect this money. It must be spent on the actual act of supervision. And here's what's funny, Bob, is the appellate court told these attorneys directly to them. They're the ones who filed the suit. The appellate court answered directly to them. Now, if I can understand it that the $40 must be used for the actual act of supervision, everybody knows that. How is it that a bunch of attorneys can't even understand this? How is it that the AG can't understand it? How is it that the district attorneys can't understand it? The money must be used for the actual act of supervision. We got in a heck of a fight. My bill didn't get passed, but here's what happened. Because I filed my bill and because I called them out on it, the Capitol, so the budget people, ended up giving the DAs $19 million because they're collecting somewhere around 20. So we end up giving them $19 million. And I told them when we gave them that, they will keep doing exactly what they're doing and nothing will change. Well, guess what, Bob? That was in 2019, and we're still doing probation supervision. And I couldn't understand how they getting away with this. So the other day, we end up in a meeting, and I and the district attorney's council end up in a meeting. And we're talking about this, and they're talking how they no longer receive supervision fees and how they collect all of that in one spot and send it to the state capitol, send it to the Capitol Fund. And I'm sitting there racking my brain. Well, if y'all are doing that, why are you in the supervision business? Because you're getting absolutely zero money if you collect it, if you send it up there. And I'm thinking about that. And for me, well, if the court ordered that money must be used for the actual act of supervision, then how can you collect it and send it to the Capitol? Because if we do that, guess what? It's not being spent for the actual act of supervision. So one, I am absolutely 100% sure that the appellate court said if you collect the money, it has to be spent on supervision. Two, I know for a fact, I've got the emails, they are not spending it on supervision. They are collecting it and sending it to the state capitol. And so again, that's an issue. That's a law violation. And they were told directly, you can't do it by the appellate court. And they kept doing it anyways, and they're still doing it. Now, they take that money and they collect it. So here's money that they're collecting illegally. They're not spending it right. But here's the other thing. He said it has to be used for the actual act of supervision. So not only are they not spending the money correctly, but they are not conducting real supervision.
So why did the appellate court say something?
Do what?
Why does the appellate court not say something?
I don't know why the appellate court has not enforced their order, because I don't know. I mean, I would think that they would come out and say. Now, our good friend Stanley Ward was the attorney who actually represented Judge Tice. Yeah. And so before I went out and accused the district attorneys, I actually went and talked to Stan Ward and showed him. And Stan Ward said I was absolutely right and that I was correct. So we have a very, very, I'm talking one of the most knowledgeable attorneys, in my opinion, in the state of Oklahoma. He knows the case extremely well. He represented, he won the case, and he's telling me what I am saying is 100% correct. So one, they must use the money on the actual act. Two, they must perform the actual act of supervision. They're violating on both accounts. Now, used to, they would collect that money locally. So let me give you an example. Our district where I live is made up of Atoka County, Cole County, and Bryan County. Atoka County would collect the money, Cole County would collect the money, and they would send it to Bryan County, and then Bryan County would fund their 3 offices with that money. In 2019, when I run House Bill 1405, called them out, we start giving them $19 million. What they started doing is still collecting it at all 3 of those locations, but then Bryan County would send it to Oklahoma County DAC. So the District Attorney's Council started a general fund, and they would collect all of this money around the state, $20 million roughly, approximately, and they put it in there. I know that because I have the email showing that. Then, Bob, they take that $20 million and they send it over to the capital budget account. And then the budget account, so we budget back to them $20 million. Guess what? Now, because it comes in their budget, it's washed. They don't have to use it for probation fees. Now, they violated the law doing all this, but when it comes in on their budget, oh, no, that's budget money. We can use it to fund our office. We can use it however we want.
Why isn't that laundering money?
It is laundering money, and I asked the AG to look at that, and the AG said I'd lost my mind. First of all, you got to have your mind to lose it. I never claimed to have much mind, but here's the deal. Even a moron like me understands this, and anybody in the state of Oklahoma, all you Oklahomans listening today, everybody, and Bob, I've gotten so many calls on this, people saying, hey, I'm going to tell you, people are scared of the DAs. It is bad when people fear the DAs, fear that if you come out and say anything against them, they're going to come after you. And Bob, when we deal with the Department of Corrections, retaliation's a big, big issue.
Yeah.
What worse office would have that kind of people have that attitude towards them? You're no longer out there to represent us. You're out there to steal money yourself, illegally stealing money off some of the poorest people out there, creating a false money laundering scheme to get the money back to you. And they can say whatever they want. They're liars if they say that what I'm saying is not true. They are collecting money. They know they're not doing supervision. They're collecting money illegally. If they were not collecting money illegally, when I outed them on 1405, they'd have told me to go kick rocks. If they hadn't been doing it wrong, then why in the world would they elaborately set up this whole money scheme? What purpose was it? You were collecting the money, you're spending it locally. Why would you change? If you had the authority to do it and you had the right to do it and you're doing all of that, why would it change? And I'll tell you why it's changing. Because they knew they were busted because they cannot use the money if they don't provide the actual supervision, and they cannot use the money to fund their office, which is what they're doing. They can't use the money to fund their office. Now, here's what's funny, Bob. Probation Pro in DOC collects the probation fee. Do they send it in and then give it back to the state and let the state give it back to them in their budget? No. They put it right back in to the actual act of supervision. They have to use it for the actual act, but that's easy to do because that's what they're doing. They have a bunch of probation officers. They have a bunch of probation offices. They have drug testing. They can more than enough spend that money on all of that and be legal. And
did
so
they ever did they ever do it? I mean, they ever have that people there that would help them out?
Well, Bob, I think what you see is you see a couple of places across the state that actually do supervision. I've heard Grady County that actually does a pretty decent job, that they actually have people who are qualified, people who
so
are
it's not all DAs in.
Not all DAs, but I would say massively, overwhelmingly, most of them know that this is not. Now, again, do I say that they're illegal? I've got a friend in Ada who does this. He kind of inherited a job. Do I think he came in and said, I'm doing something illegal? I doubt he's ever looked at it. He's just saying, hey, state's already approved this. DAC's already approved it. We're doing it. It must be legal. He's not looked at it. Now, I think that he probably has looked at it and probably would say, every one of them I've talked to, every one of them say, it's just not a good look and we probably need to be out of it. Well, again, why aren't they out of it? We can't move forward. You can't do criminal justice. And Bob, here's what's funny. You came to our budget meeting the other day where we asked DOC how many inmates that they had. Do you remember that they said they had 24,000 something inmates? And Bob, we were down to 21.
Right.
And so we're already back up 3,000 inmates. So at 780 is working. How are we increasing from 21,000 to 3,000 in a short amount of time? You know, we're talking 7 years or so. In that short time, we've already went back and locked up 3,000 more people. And Bob, you got to equate this in the equation. During that same period of time, McGirt started, and McGirt has pulled massive amount of people out of our system and put it in the tribal system or federal system. So while that's pulling out people, a lot of people, we still risen 3,000. So when you look at what's going on, hey, we have not impacted crime. We've not done anything. We let 6,000 people out, and then we rebooted it. And guess what? We're going right back the same direction we always have been, because nobody has a community program. Nobody addresses the issues. Nobody tries to hold accountable. Nobody does anything. We're dysfunctional. And the biggest part of that dysfunction in our criminal justice system is the district attorneys. And until we address this issue, we can't move forward. We're not going to move forward in a criminal justice reform or whatever you want to call it. I think the word reform has been abused. But again, we need a new system. I've got a plan for a new system. But before you can start, we've got to get a computer program where we can actually quit flying blind. And we must get the district attorneys out of the criminal business, them conducting criminal, not get them out of the prosecutorial business, but we got to get them to quit commit crime. It is shameful as a state that our top law enforcement legal side, I don't want to say top law enforcement because I hold the county sheriffs up, and I think a lot of the sheriffs, I will tell you, I've gotten a lot of feedback off this from law enforcement saying, go after them, get it done. And Bobby, it's just a shame that, I mean, this is pretty easy. How do people argue? If you take $40 for doing absolutely nothing, it's theft. And if they're doing it, then let's call them out. Let them come out and say, hey, let's go look at some of these districts. Let's see how many people you have. Let's see how many you've actually seen. Bob, most of the places probably couldn't even tell you how many people they got on supervision. I'd be really shocked if they could tell us how many people they've actually got, how many supervisors they have. And again, Bob, you understand this. We were talking about the other day, one of the prisons that had 1,400 people, 1,400 inmates, 4 correctional officers, I was told, showed up to supervise 1,400. Now, do you think anybody in their right mind thinks that that's logical, that that's right, that we shouldn't have more people? And again, this is the same thing. They have thousands of people on supervision, and they have 1 or 2 people supervising the whole bunch. It is a fraud. It is as big a fraud. It may be the biggest fraud we've ever seen in the state of Oklahoma. 20 million per year. They've been doing it for a while. The district attorney stealing more money, committing the biggest fraud on the state of Oklahoma. And here's the losers. It ain't just the people who are committing the crime having to pay this money, who get crime after crime after crime, and they have to keep paying because the DA don't revoke them because he's got a money scheme. So instead of revoking them like they should and stopping the crime cycle, nope, we'll give you another probation. We'll give you another probation. We'll give you another. Why? Because they're making money on every one of them. If they say they're not, they're liars. Period. Plain and simple, they're liars. If they say it's not a conflict, they're liars. If they say that they are not influenced, they are liars. And if they say they are not the ones who decide to charge you, who offer themselves pleas, and then turn around and are the ones who supervise you in any other system, they'd be the first ones to jump up and scream. What if in my private probation, and they come out, Bob, and said, well, JJ collected fees when he was in private probation. Well, guess what? I did. And you know what? I had a person assess them when they come in, a trained person assess them and make a treatment plan. I had another person enter all their data so that if they went missing, if they ran off, guess what? We knew their auntie's name. We knew their mom's name. We knew everybody. We had all of that. We also looked at their past history, employment history, try to help them get jobs. We used drug testing and alcohol testing. We worked with counselors. So if they continued, we got them set up counseling. We worked with AA and NA. We worked with people to help them get their GED and all kinds of things.
Now, JJ,
that ain't going on.
Is the person that's paying the $40, has he been accused of a crime, or has he's already found guilty of a crime?
He had to plead guilty, and that's the deal, Bob.
Oh, he pled guilty.
The DA is saying, Bob, if you don't want to go to jail, you can take probation with me. Well, that's conflicting, okay? And then they get you on there. Let's say you go out and commit a new crime. Well, Bob, we'll just give you another probation with us. You can pay us 80 instead of paying us 40. Well, Bob, you got you another one. You can pay us 120. We won't revoke you. But now, Bob, if you ever stop paying us, we'll slam dunk you. We'll put you in jail. And they're going to threaten you with jail for failure to pay. Now, Bob, when I had supervision, if you had 3 crimes, you know how much I charge you?
Same.
$40. I charge you $40 because you're one person and I'm supervising one person. Doesn't matter. The fact that you have 3 or 4 cases doesn't change how mine and your interaction. I'm seeing you once a month. You pay me $40. That's it. So again, that's a huge difference. But when I was doing it, I actually did supervision. Now, here's what's funny, Bob. When I was doing it, my judge come in and said, hey, if they owe money, if they haven't paid their money, I don't want them off with you. You just keep them on. And I said, Judge, I will not just me keep them on. I will write you a report. I'll write the district attorney a report, and you can decide. And if you want to continue them supervision, you are the authority. You can. The DA can look at that. He can have input. I'm going to let both of y'all because I'm the guy going to make money. I know that I am not objective. I'm going to make money. Now, I feel like I could be objective, but it doesn't look good. It wouldn't look good. So I wouldn't do that. I said, absolutely not. And I got a report that every person that reached a certain place, and Bob, we got a lot of people off early, saved them a lot of money. We'd say, hey, if you get this court cost paid, if you do this, stay clean, get a job, we'll get you off. That cost me money, but it gave them incentive to do good. And we were getting enough business. Hey, it worked great. Now, are the district attorneys getting people off early? Hell no. Are the district attorneys offering incentive for anything? What do you want to bet they're not? Are the district attorneys getting people in college, getting people jobs? Are they doing anything for the $40? What do you want to bet? And in 99% of the cases, the answer is no. It is the biggest fraud. The state of Oklahoma, it's huge.
And no paper will print it.
Oh, people are scared. People don't want them going after them. Again, I laughed. They come out and said that I was a disgrace to the House, to the legislators. And I thought, boy, that's funny. When a bunch of thieving bastards will call me disgrace, what are they? What's that make them? If you think I'm disgraceful, look in the mirror and look at yourself. I ain't stealing off of people who got substance abuse, criminal behavior problems. I'm not stealing to fund myself. I'm not setting up a unique scheme of how the money. Why would you set that up? If you're not ashamed of it, if it ain't wrong, then why would you set the whole deal up? You're a bunch of cur dog liars, and that's what it is. And you're disgraceful. What you're out there calling me is what you actually are. You're disgraceful. Now, not every. I do want to say I know some district attorneys who are some pretty good folks, but I'm saying as a whole, what they're doing, and you know who ought to be jumping up? My good friends who are those good attorneys, and there are some out there. I could start naming some names of some really awesome. You know, I just tell you, Bob, the one in Oklahoma City, I love her to death. She's awesome. My good friend down there in Ada, he's a good guy. I think that he would look at this and be honest. I think the guy at Bryan County would probably sit down and be honest, I'd hope. But if they wouldn't be, those are the people who ought to be jumping up right now and going, you know what? Humphrey's a loudmouth. Humphrey's just uncouth. He is disgraceful. But you know what? He's right. He's
now,
right.
What was the deal on the lawsuit you have against you and McDougal?
Well, Bobby, comes back to the same thing. A bunch of these district attorneys they just think they're above the law. They do whatever they want. So we had the Richard Glossop case in which we did an investigation and we found, and we have verification of this, it's not maybe, and the AG hired his own investigator who backed up everything we said. The district attorney, the former district attorney of Oklahoma City, actually destroyed key evidence in Richard's case. 10 pieces of key evidence is my understanding what was destroyed. Now, that's criminal in and by itself. But then the district attorney turned around and told their only key witness, hey, your testimony doesn't line up with the medical examiner, and we'd like you to change your testimony. And they write in the column, here's what we want you to say. That's witness tampering. All day long, these district attorneys know that. Anybody else did that. If they caught somebody else doing that, they'd be after them like big dogs. I mean, they'd duck on a June bug, but instead it's their own. and they cover for their own. And so again, we see this. They held back an entire box of evidence, which is again against the law. So they're breaking the law. Now you would think it's so egregious that the AG come out and said they're right, the law was broken. We need to remand this case back to the lower court, back to Oklahoma City. Instead, the DAs have used their influence to try to make sure that Richard Glossop gets executed. You want to talk about some low people? Who does that? Who knows? We're talking lawyers. If there's anybody knows that it's wrong to destroy evidence, if there's anybody knows that witness tampering, perjury, hiding evidence is wrong, it's these people. But they're using their influence to try to influence the pro board. I think they use their influence to influence others. I want to see, have they contacted the appellate court? I want to see, are they using their influence on them? But we're asking for open records. Now, here's what's funny. One of them, and that's the one we're originally going after. We're probably going to go after some more. But here's what they did, Bob. Oh, no, we were up there on our own private time. We went up to Richard Glossop hearing on our own private time. Well, that's funny. You wore your button. You wore like Bob, we've got those pins in the legislator. He wore his pin. Guess what? He charged mileage. And what's funny, when he got busted, he charged him mileage. Oh, mistake. You caught me. That was wrong. I'll change that. So we've got some other information that would seem that we believe is there, that's going to verify that there's collaboration, there's talks going on behind that are improper, that they're using all of them together, or many of them together, using their influence to try to influence the pro board behind the scene. And again, it's an open records request. Guess who's in charge of making sure that these open records and open records requests are honored?
DA.
And yet, who's the biggest violators? Them. So, yeah, we'll make sure the law applies to others, but we won't apply the law to ourselves. We won't stand up and be accountable. And when somebody asks for it, we'll fight them. We'll call them all kinds of dirty names. We'll act like, who are they? Now, here's what's funny right now. If I understand the argument, he's saying, well, this attorney requested these records, and I didn't know she was representing these two legislators, and so therefore I wasn't required to give it to them. Well, Bob, what does it matter if it's an attorney, if it's a legislator, or if it's Joe Blow right out here on the street? It doesn't say, well, I got to know who's asking and who they're going to give it to and who's going to get what. It doesn't say that. They're public records. Everybody ought to have access. They're public. That's what it means. The whole public ought to be able to see. It should be transparent.
You know, that reminds me of the time whenever I was dealing with the OSSAA, and I went to the first meeting and I asked some questions, and they asked to see an agenda, and they said that we don't have one. And I asked them questions, and they blew me off. Well, at the end of the day, a reporter said that I was a state representative. And they said, oh, well, with them that a state representative, we would have given it to him. He didn't tell us he's a state representative. Now, there again, it's like yours. What's the difference between a state representative and the public?
None.
Asking for something.
I mean, here's the deal. Everybody's entitled to it. State representative has no more entitlement than Joe Blow out here on the street. Anybody who requests that should be able to get it. That's what the law says. And they're going to say, well, here's the deal. If you've been watching any of these hearings, and Bob, you know this as well as I do because you've seen it time and time again. What happens? We request something from DOC. What do they say? It's an ongoing investigation. It's HIPAA. It's private. You can't do it. You can't get an answer because Oh, no, that's above your pay grade.
Hey,
So
now that you
here's
brought that up, let me
today's,
ask you a question on HIPAA.
yeah.
If you're an inmate and you're going to go to another inmate, you're going to try to commit HIPAA, and then you get in a fight, is that still a HIPAA? And he wins the fight, and he did against the guy trying to put the deal on him. So is that still HIPAA?
I don't think that's HIPAA, Bob. I mean, here's the deal: the assault ought to be a public record again, because what the district or what the prison, and this is what the prison is failing to do in many cases. You're not seeing these assaults carried out and charged with crimes. That's a crime, and
Yeah.
you get a crime. No, it's public record. It goes on. Now, if we have an assault involving minors, yeah, can uh, they can conceal that minor to protect that minor's, future. But
Yeah.
we're talking to adults and assault. Now, if there's some medical, if they take him over to medical and he's stabbed, they treat him. Absolutely, that's covered under HIPAA. But the fact that we have the assault is actually public knowledge or public knowledge, in my opinion, and they ought to be able to put out a report. And they used to, Bob. They used to have a really good report on any of these serious incidents that came
No,
out.
they don't do that now. They don't want to be transparent.
They quit doing. Yeah, they quit doing that because guess what? They don't want anybody, and it's a cover up. It's a cover up on the rates, and they destroy. Let's say allegedly, we have people coming forward saying that they're not reporting, that they're covering up PREAs, that they're changing the PREA information and the forms. I actually had somebody said they were letting inmates pull those because they were shorthanded. Unbelievable if that is true. And again, we always want to say true if it is true. Just like on these district attorneys, what we need to do is investigate. Now, here's what the AG should have done. And the AG, if he listen up, AG, you should investigate. You should send somebody down to each one of these districts, and you should say, how many people do you have? And how many people do you have supervising? Pretty easy. If you would do those two things right there, you could easily say Justin Humphrey's full of crap or Justin Humphrey's not full of crap. You go look at the fund and you go look at 2019, how they were paying out, pretty easy to prove. And now you look at how they changed, another easy to prove. And now you look how it's going to the state. Hey, Mr. AG, I got that email that helped y'all investigate that. I got some evidence of this. I just been keeping my mouth quiet. But if you'd like me to prove what I'm saying, I'd be happy to prove what I'm saying because I got the email that I sent over after I had the meeting with them, Bob. I was like, And so, I asked them to send me, where's this money going? And I got the email saying we collect it, it comes into us, and then we send it to the Capitol, but we can't show you how we sent it. That makes me really suspicious right there. So I've got to go back and drill down on that. Because here's the deal, Bob. If you are a state agency and you're going to give the state back $20 million, would you not have a record of that? Would you not? Are you just going to say, well, $20 million went away wherever it went? We think we sent it to the Capitol. We think we sent it over here. No, they're not going to have that. They're going to have a record. We transferred $20 million to you. That or they're transferring it a month at a time. However they're doing it, there's going to be a record of that transaction somewhere. If not, then we have a even bigger problem because then we don't know exactly where the 20 million is actually going. So again, can the AG answer these questions? I can tell you he can't because guess what? He ain't done a rat's ass thing. You didn't investigate it. You went over and looked and said, oh, the law says that they can collect it and that they can, do supervision. That's what the law says. But does the law say they can collect it without doing the supervision? Did you go try to prove that they were actually doing supervision? The answer all day is no. They have done nothing as usual. They've come out and said, Look what we did. Look what we found. And Justin Humphrey's mistaken. Justin Humphrey ain't mistaken. I am not mistaken. Y'all haven't done an investigation. You haven't looked into it. I'd advise to go do it because I'll guarantee you I'm not going to back off of it. I think I can actually prove. I think what I'm saying is easy enough to prove. Hop your happy asses down here and start looking at how many people do they have to supervise? How many people do they have? Are they actually supervising? Pretty easy to establish. And here's the deal: if they're not supervising, is that fraud? If they're charging a fee and they're getting that money and they got one or two people for 2,000 people, is that a fraud? And an answer all day long. Bobby, you don't have to have a law degree to know if you got two people supervising, just like four can't supervise 1,400, two can't supervise 2,000. It's pretty easy math. It's not hard to decipher. You don't have, they can't cover it up because where are these people? It's been going on for years. It's easy to uncover. The money's easy to track. You can walk into every treasurer's office, go, hey, I want to see this fee. I want to see this fund. I want to see, and they'll have a voucher where they took out the money and they sent it here. And then the other one will have a voucher and they got it there. But I got the end of the line. I have the end of the rainbow, the email that says, we collected it all and it's right here and we sent it to the state. I've got the email said that. You don't have to go pull all that. I've got that. Now, the question is, I want to see where it actually comes to the state, which shouldn't be hard to prove. And again, if I can't get that, then I'm going to jump up and raise Cain. But once I do get that, then I'm going to come out and say, Mr. AG, tell us how many. So I'm going to write him another letter and say, I want to know how many people are supervising in each one of these counties and how many people they're supervising. This is what you should investigate. And I will be probably a smart ass and say, this is, let me tell you from an investigator, apparently I've reached the conclusion that y'all don't know how to investigate, and that's the problem. And so let me help you investigate. Let me help you in asking the right questions. And I'm going to come out and do that, and it's going to look pretty bad on them because I think the people of the state of Oklahoma are smart enough to go, hey, Humphrey's absolutely right. Are they actually doing supervision? Did you look at how many people?
Did you ask the state auditor to look at it?
No, I've actually asked the state auditor way back before I become a legislator to look at that, and we didn't get that done. And so, again, I'm asking the attorney general to look at it. I don't have authority to have the state auditor to look into something. That has to come from either the AG to a sheriff's department or our governor. I think the speaker could have good luck on getting very many of those people. Most people are scared of the district attorneys. Now, Bob, we were talking a while ago. You asked me a question on what we were suing, and it's that Open Records Act. And I can tell you, I suspect that we will sue another large county or all of them together. We're just talking about bypassing it and just going after every one of them. Just say, hey, we want everything from everybody who did this, And there's quite a few of them that were involved in that, I think. But Bob, the other thing is, the other day I was told that in the district attorney's council that they're having closed doors meeting. That they're not having. So if they have their board meeting, then guess what, Bob? That ought to be open to the public. And I'm being told that it's not. So that's another thing that I'm going to be working on is to look at, do we, do we have an open meeting going on, or have we allowed the district attorneys to have a closed meeting? And again, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm being told that and Bob, if that's the truth, again, these are the top, people for carrying out the legal side of our criminal justice business. And again, they're supposed to be the ones who protect, uphold the law, took an oath to carry out justice. And again, let's talk about whether it's legal or not legal. Let's set that aside. Let's set aside did you money laundering. Let's set aside all of this. Are you carrying out justice when you take money for a charge? Are you carrying out justice when you offer yourself as a plea? Are you carrying out justice when you don't revoke people, when you don't supervise people, and you only revoke for failure to pay? When you use your office as the Gestapo to collect money? Again, is that y'all's ideal of justice? That you have to hide your money and you did? Is that justice? Again, is it justice to charge other people and hold other people accountable to the law and then break it yourself? Is it justice to have closed records and refuse to give your records when that's asked? Again, Bob, it is time. These people, nobody has held them accountable. Everybody's scared to death of them. You know how much power they have up there at the Capitol. You know, hey, it's hard. They've got some people embedded up there that are going to protect them no matter what. And again, I truly look for them to come after me. I anticipate that, they're probably going to headhunt on me, probably try to kill all of my legislation, and that's okay. I'm up there to do what I believe is right, and that's what we're going to do. And again, Bob, the other people who lose on this, so it's not only that they're defrauding those people, but Bob, they're defrauding the state of Oklahoma. And the people of the state of Oklahoma are not getting what they're paying for, which is supervision, community supervision, which actually helps people. 780 is a good indicator that the people want to see these people get some help. But guess what? We're not doing that. 780 was hijacked by the DAs. And again, has been the worst thing on our state because it was not set up in the proper manner. And what happened was it was stolen and used by the DAs to collect all of this money. It's sad. It's truly sad for the state of Oklahoma, Bob.
Well, it's interesting. The whole thing's interesting. It doesn't sound like it's the right thing to do. Hey, let me ask you a question before we go.
Yeah.
You put out a press release that the DOC needs to be investigated.
Yep.
And not investigate themselves. Yeah. And they come back and you said that there's been a lot of inmate knifings and fights, inmate on officers.
Isolated incidents, Bob. Isolated incidents.
Isolated incidents. And they come back and say, oh, well, we checked our records and that's not right. JJ didn't know what he's talking about. At the same time, they said, well, he's just taking a couple of isolated incidents and trying to make a big deal out of it. So I'm going to ask you this. How many people have been killed at Lawton?
6 in 6 months. 1 a month for the last 6 months.
So 6 months death.
That's what, Bob, let me say that. So a friend of mine that I work with several investigative reporters, and I kind of try to put them on some stuff. And I put one of these reporters on to a murder that happened there in the prison where a guy was stabbed 70 times, 8 times in the neck, almost severed his head and stuffed in a trash can. That was one of those isolated incidents, they said. But this guy looked at, so he went deeper and said, how many people have died in the last 6 months? 2 in October, but in a 6-month period, 6 died, which makes it equal to 1 a month for the last 6 months in one prison, Bob. And we know for fact that we've had assaults after assaults in 3 other prisons that we know of.
Yeah.
And we're not including OHP, and I think they've got quite a bit going on. From what I hear, they've got a lot of assaults going on. They got a lot of staff assaults going on. Again, can you get a straight answer? These are not isolated incidents. And that's what I'm talking about, Bob. Transparency. these people answering to the public. And again, they lie. I mean, it's just a lie. And when you call them out, Bob, what do? Humphrey's below, he's disgraceful. He's low, disgraceful. I'll laugh. I am disgraceful. I'll be the first person a minute. But if I'm disgraceful, what's that make y'all? Because golly, what's the old saying? Lower than a snake's belly. Golly, I tell you, I mean, that you will cover up murders, rapes, locking people in showers. Again, Bob, I'm calling them out, calling out the DAs. I'm calling out everything that I see up there that I believe is wrong. I do want to say that I uncovered some stuff with DHS, and I will say to DHS's credit, they've at least tried to work with me. Now, are we getting done as much as I would want? Probably not. But I will tell you this: they're being honest. Or it appears like we're at least having conversations.
They're trying.
Yeah, I mean,
they're meeting with you.
Yeah. So again, Bob, I would tell our listeners, y'all stay tuned. Y'all pay attention. This DA thing's going to get hot when we get back in session. I'm working on collecting the evidence and then be able to put it out. Hey, all right, y'all think I'm an idiot? Here it is. You answer this. And again, they can't answer it. Watch them dance like a bunch of hillbillies at daggum, all night drunk, So, I mean, here's the deal. They're going to try to sidestep. They're going to not be able to answer these questions. State of Oklahoma should join with me and not let them off the hot seat and say, answer it. I will be sending DOC a whole list of things, including how many assaults they have. I want it broke down at each prison.
Well, have you included the governor in this at all?
I will include the governor when I write these letters.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And I typically CC them to the pro tem, to the speaker, to the governor, and to the AG, and to whatever director that I'm working with. I don't do anything behind anybody's back. If they like me, great. They don't, fine. But again, every one of them are getting the same view. And I do that so that when something happens, Bob, they can't say, oh, we didn't know. They know.
You need to shut her down.
Yep, Bob. Hey, we're going to get back out here and go to feeding cows. We appreciate everybody. I would encourage everybody to stay tuned on that district attorney thing and on the prisons. There's a lot going on right there and those two big issues. So y'all have a blessed day and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.